Hello, this is my submission for assignment 3. These are the interview questions. The first, why are you interested in working with individuals with autism spectrum disorder? My interest in working with individuals with autism spectrum disorder really began when I had two students. One was a younger student, about 5, and the other one was a teenager who were diagnosed with autism. At the time, I didn't actually have much knowledge or much basis in working with individuals with autism, and this really promoted me to search out knowledge and to really expand my knowledge base and to take courses on autism and behavioral science. What I have found through taking courses is that I really want to provide learning opportunities and provide a positive environment to gain skills in order to better these individuals' futures. Briefly describe yourself and your work ethic. What skills will you bring to this team? I would describe my work ethic as, and I've worked mostly in the last 7 years within an organization that offers services to youth who have behavioral issues. And what I really have identified as being important is a confidence in my work. I think that having a confidence in your work is important because then that builds trust, not only with clients or students, but also with parents. People then believe in you, and you develop these positive working relationships. What I've also found is that you need to be dedicated, and you need to really work for the organization, the mission and the values. Working within this and having a dedication and a real passion for the field helps you like your work, and this can be seen by clients, by coworkers, by supervisors as well. What I've also learned, and talking about dedication, is that you need to offer services that are individualized and really work with your clients, collaborate, and to offer them the best possible services, you need to really implicate yourself 100%. Briefly describe your experience working on a team. What do you most enjoy, and what do you find most challenging about working on a team? I worked as an alternative education teacher, and because of this, I've worked in various teams, whether it is in the community, it is with school boards, it is with social workers or developmental workers. So I've worked in a variety of teams. What I find most challenging is personality conflicts. Some people have different personalities that don't click, and then this ends up becoming a challenge because we cannot advance any further. What I have also found is challenging is to have everyone work on the same goal. Some people have differing philosophies and different values, which often don't necessarily come together to promote the best possible outcomes. However, working in a team, I think, offers some really great experiences and some really positive and beautiful outcomes. What I think that is the most appealing thing of working in a team is that you can come together from different expertises and really provide holistic and a comprehensive programming for individuals. Because if you have different expertise, you can really provide like differing services and not just from one person or one field of expertise. Describe a time when you experienced conflict while working on a team. What did you do to resolve this conflict? Would you handle it the same way again? If not, would you do it differently? I worked in an organization that had very few employees, and there was a change in employees because of circumstances. However, I had a coworker come in who had different philosophies and different values than I did, and we had a conflict over the programming for a student and their reintegration. What ended up happening was kind of a stalemate where we continued to work on the objectives that we thought were most appropriate. And this really confused the student and kind of hindered her advancement and her success in the program. Looking back and really reflecting on this, I realized the negative impact it had not working on the same angle. And what I would do would be to approach my supervisor and ask for advice. I would also set up a meeting with my coworker in order, and also with my supervisor, to have kind of a mediator, is to discuss the philosophies and how we can come to a compromise in order to meet the needs of the students, because it is really their best interest that's the most important. I also think that communication, being clear, being concise, and being open is a policy that we should all adopt when working and when having conflicts. How would you describe your ability to receive constructive criticism and to adapt your performance based on this feedback? I think that constructive criticism is essential. I don't always think that as individuals working or in our personal lives that we have some sort of we don't necessarily reflect on our strengths, and we can't necessarily identify our strengths and our weaknesses. Therefore, having another person come in and tell you to work on these things and really get you thinking about your drawbacks and how best to meet these drawbacks is an essential way. I think constructive criticism leads to learning opportunities. I really experienced this being a student. Whenever you send in a paper and then you get the constructive criticism from your professor on things to change, on how to get better, and then on the next assignment you really focus on filling in these gaps and filling in to get the best possible grade or the best possible outcome. So I think that not having these learning opportunities won't promote growth. So therefore, constructive criticism really helps us develop professionally and personally. Briefly describe the experience that you have working with typically developing children. How do you think this experience will help you in the role of an instructor therapist? As I said before, I worked as an alternative education teacher. I worked with typically developing children and also those with developmental disabilities. What really bridged the gap is that they had a lot of behavioral issues. What I have come to learn is that patience is essential in working with youth and children and individuals in general. I think this really promotes a positive learning environment and really allows for leeway and learning experiences and them to be comfortable with you. I have also learned that parents are key in programming. If you have parents on board with you and they believe in the program and they want to assist their children, then that can have really positive impact on programming and on success. Also, what I've developed, which may seem a little bizarre, is that I have developed really a respect for youth and children. I think that oftentimes we think that their lives are very simple, and even for typically developing children. But I think that is kind of facetious, because we need to really accept the realities and how they navigate the world. And I don't think it's as simple. I think it's more complex than what we give these children and youth. To briefly describe the experience that you have working with individuals of cultures other than your own, what lessons and strategies have you learned from this experience? As a TA working in a university, I experienced working with many different cultures, people from different countries, people from different communities. I even saw big differences in rural and urban communities. And what I can attest to is that having an openness and a respect for cultures and communities is essential. I think that looking back and going through research, asking questions even to the individual is important. We can't put on blinders and pretend that culture isn't there. We need to be aware, and we need to make steps in order to really accept people for what they are. Because if we don't understand the way people navigate the world, it doesn't lend to having a positive learning experience and to working together and to collaborate. Why are you interested in working in the field of applied behavioral analysis? Through my courses, I've learned that ABA has had a really positive impact on individuals with ASD. So what I would be interested in doing is really experiencing this and collaborating with individuals who apply these ABA principles in order to change behavior and to acquire skills. I think that working with them and really seeing the positive impact on their behaviors and seeing their outcomes and their futures, I think would be really rewarding, not only for me, but also for the clients. In your own words, explain the distinction between applied behavior analysis and intensive behavioral intervention. Applied behavioral analysis, I think in its simplest terms, is that it examines observable behavior and the environmental context. So how the environmental context is having an impact on behavior, and how can we change this in order to change behavior. And ABA, the principles, also can be applied in many different environments. So at home, in the school, in a center. So it's really transferable. And ABA is also grounded in evidence-based and also utilizes data collection in order to really examine the observable behaviors and how to change them. Whereas IBI, it's a program that uses ABA principles, but that is more intensive. So it could be from 20 to 40 hours per week. And they also want individuals with ASD to start early because they have found that it has better outcomes in their life. So IBI really offers a lot of learning opportunities for individuals with ASD. What are your career goals? What are some strategies that you will use to achieve them? I don't necessarily have a title in mind of what my career goal would be. However, what I want to do is offer the best possible services to the individuals I am working with. I think that working with individuals with ASD can be very rewarding, and I think that working within this and really trying to better myself through acquiring knowledge, doing more training and more courses, and also professional development, working with supervisors and people who have worked in the field for many years would be essential for my career goals. I think that constantly growing and developing is an essential part of what I would like to do in my career. I would also like to work with an organization that has similar values in what I do. I think this would be essential for me to be happy in the future, and also to develop a career that I would love and be dedicated to. Thank you.